Hello and welcome to West Country Wanderings. Welcome to one of my photography series. Today I'm hoping to take some photographs of mushroom and fungi here at a place called Chaddesley Wood, which is a Worcestershire Wildlife Trust woodland. It's actually huge, enormous. I can't remember the exact size of it, but I do know it was once part of a much larger ancient forest called Feckenham Forest, which stretched right over into the neighbouring county of Warwickshire, places like Ulster right over there. Feckenham is like a village just outside the town of Redditch. But the woodland here is just off the main road between the Worcestershire towns of Kidderminster and Bromsgrove. It's closer to, I think Bromsgrove is only about 5 miles down that way. I've never been here before, so I'm hoping to cover some mushrooms today. If not, we'll be able to get some autumnal colours, hopefully, all being well. So we just have to see how it goes, really. You can never predict how these things will be on the day. That behind me there are the Malvern Hills, of course, which we'll be seeing, and we're seeing more of course, along the Geopark Way. I actually did a country route to get here today from where I live in Gloucestershire via Ledbury, Bromsgrove and Stourport-on-Severn. It was a very, very beautiful ride, and then it was beautiful autumnal colours. I popped back after the rush hours over down the M5, which is obviously a quicker way to go, but a lot less interesting and a lot less satisfying in terms of the countryside. But anyway, I don't know how it's going to turn out today, so hope you can join me though. Have a bit of explore, bit of photography. I'm using my macro lens today for, we're not talking to the piece to camera, but this one is a macro lens, 28mm macro lens. So hopefully we'll be able to get some shots. Got another tripod to get some lower ground shots with a light as well. So hopefully we'll be able to get something. Anyway, fingers crossed, here we go. Let's explore here, Chaddesley Wood in Worcestershire. So Chaddesley Wood is the largest slice of woodland here in Worcestershire outside of the Wire Forest. The Wire Forest we've covered before on the Geopark Way, did a Lost Railway walk there. It's just kind of to the north and to the west of the town of Bewdley on the River Severn. But this is the next largest chunk here in Worcestershire, so it's a really important habitat in this part of the world. It's made up, as you can see there, of native oak and hazel woodlands, and it was added to after some have been felled for being used in the countryside by some conifers in the latter part of the 1930s. But this is just beautiful here with the autumnal colours. I haven't seen any fungi and mushrooms yet, but we've only just literally gone through the Kissing Gate and into the woodland here. Now the temptation is, when you see all these glorious autumnal colours, is just try and photograph everything, but I'm trying to photograph specific details as we look out for certain things in the woodland here. And yeah, you can just see these golden colours with the light coming through. Perfect conditions. I understand the sun will go in later on today. I think we've got heavier rain coming in this evening and in tomorrow, so this was my only opportunity to get out and capture some autumnal colours here today. I've come up to this lime tree, and I'm going to set up camp here, I think. I've just put my rucksack down because I've seen quite a few fungi in this area. Now your eyes need to adjust, I think, well, for two reasons when you're looking for fungi. One is obviously the lower light levels as we got here inside the woodland, and the second thing is the perspective. As you're walking into the woodland, you're looking at the trees, the light. Obviously we've got the hills, mulvens in the background, so your eyes looking at landscape, trees, colours. Now, of course, the fungi are very low on the ground. Now, relatively speaking, in terms of relative size, in terms of the trees and everything else, they're really quite small. So your eyes need to stop. You need to slow yourself right down to find the mushrooms. It's no good going at normal walking speed through you like I would normally, because you'll miss the details. So I'm going to stop here. I'm going to grab a cup of tea as well. Now, I've seen some fungi here. I don't have my identifier book, so what I'll do is I'll try and identify them and put them as captions on the screen when I do it. These actually look like bits of snow. Obviously we've not had any snow. It's far too warm for snow here at the moment in late October, but they look like snow or bits of rock. So I'm going to get some photographs of those, and I've just spotted some other different varieties around the ring and base of this tree here in Chaddesley Wood. I've got my other camera with the macro lens on it set up there. As you can see, it's got the light which is connected to the hot shoe to give it's got a diffuser on it. You can alter the colour, temperature and the intensity of the light. It's actually pretty bright, so that improves things for the exposure and the lighting effect. But of course I'm using my selfie stick, which acts as a miniature tripod to get the camera very, very low and close to the fungi, and by doing that I can then use a longer shutter. So what I've done with this one, and I say I'll try and identify it and put it as a caption below, I've used 1/4 second shutter speed with it, and it's made the ISO get to just 160, which should give us a nice sharp image with it. And obviously being stable on the ground with that tripod there and the additional lighting, it should pick out hopefully the details of this fungi here in Chaddesley Wood. But yeah, it's a slow process, so I can actually go around this area. I'm just picking out with the naked eye, but I need to get closer to them, several different species just in this very, very small area underneath this tree. So yeah, we'll try and get some more shots of that, and then I'll go on around, kind of being very careful where I tread as well, because it's very easy to stand on the fungi as you walk around, so you just have to be really, really careful with it. But the other thing it does by this type of photography, it really, really slows you down. We're in a very, very nice, quiet environment here. I've just seen a couple of other walkers, just two, since I've been here, since I left the car, go past. So it's really nice and quiet, and you can just focus in on the details of the fungi here, and also, of course, the wider autumnal colours of the woodland at this time of the year. Now the other thing that this lens on that camera has got LED lights built into the lens itself as well, and because they're actually on the lens, they're coming from a slightly different direction as to the light that's on the hot shoe. So I'm going to try that as well. So yeah, just take this ring off. Yeah, it's quite an all singing, all dancing lens, this one, and it's good. I've used it in my Tewkesbury walkabout photography series 1 there as well. It's really good for video because it's got image stabilization built in. So I'll try and get it from a couple of other angles with different lighting effects and see how we go, and then we'll look at some other fungi in this area. So I've just found another specimen here. Again, I don't know what it's called. This one I've had to get particularly low. The only disadvantage with this macro lens, you do have to get quite close into it. It's not a, well, there's no zoom facility because it's a prime lens, and because it's 28mm, you do have to get quite close to it, but it will focus. In fact, it has a super macro function as well to get really, really close to things, but I don't think I'll need that today. But it's giving a really, really nice light because we've got a little bit of soft sunlight filtering through. We've got the light from the lens and the light from the light on the top of the camera from the hot shoe as well. So I'm hoping that the lighting on it is going to give it a really nice golden glow effect with the golden leaves that are surrounding the fungi here. Let's see how we go. Well, this is a really good site here. I've just spotted a group of a different type of fungi over there. Again, I'll try and identify and put the captions up as this video goes out and as I'm editing it. I'm now going to take some shots. So before I do look at that, at the white ones I mentioned that look like they're partially decayed. They probably kind of came out about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I would imagine. But I'll try and get some shots of those. A couple of things to mention about that though is because they're white or whitish, you have to adjust the exposure. Now this applies to any type of photography. If you're photographing a steam engine and it's black, it's a bit of a nightmare. If I'm doing video or stills of black steam engines, you have to compensate, you have to underexpose slightly because the camera picking up that darker area, think that whole image is too dark, and then you have to adjust it, unless you're using something called spot exposure, which is a different thing. I'm not going to go into too much detail about that, but you have to compensate if things are really dark or really light. Now these are light, so I'll need to increase the exposure a bit. I am shooting the stills in RAW as well, so obviously I can edit them in post-production before I insert them into the edit of the video, if that makes sense. But I don't like to do too much editing to my stills. I like to, if I possibly can, do them as is. I usually do a little bit of light cropping, maybe adjust the highlights and the shadows, saturation, and that's about it. I'm not one of these people that go into detail with masking and using different areas and doing loads of all. I'm not that person, so I try and make my images look as they were when I'm looking through the viewfinder or the LCD screen when I press the shutter or fire the shutter remotely. And I don't like things that look heavily edited. To me, when I see it heavily edited, it seems obvious that it looks heavily edited, if you see what I mean. I like it to look as natural as possible. So only light edits where then they may be needed, but if I can get away with doing no editing them, so much the better, and sometimes that is the case. But yeah, this is a great site here. I'm glad I pitched camp here, if you like. It's wonderful. I'm just literally in, well, I'm really just all around this tree. There's obviously something about this tree. Now there are links between trees and fungi, which I did talk about in one of my Gloucestershire woodland series, which is kind of very similar to this one. Obviously here today we're in neighbouring county of Worcestershire. And yeah, so they do communicate. They do actually use like the little fibres underneath the fungi which go underneath all of these leaves that you can see here to transmit data, if you like, to talk to each other's trees. I know it's a mind-blowing concept, and because of this particular tree here, it seems to be very, very favourable conditions for fungi. So let's see if we can get that white one, whatever it's called, see if I can find that out, and then we'll carry on looking around the area here right after this short break. Well, welcome back. While you've been watching a couple of adverts, I've been trying around different lighting techniques. Now what I'm trying to do is to maximise the aperture, so to narrow it down, if you like, f20, it goes up to f22, the lens. There is a bit of a drop off in terms of sharpness, but what that does give you is a maximum depth of field. Now when you're using macro work, automatically your depth of field shrinks right down, and by closing the aperture down, you're trying to widen it back out again, because otherwise what will happen is you'll just get a tiny part of the fungi in focus and the rest of it will all be blurred out. You won't see the details. So I'm trying to use f20 and trying to maximize the ISO to the lowest as possible, or it's probably around about 150 to 200 ISO to maximize the detail from the camera, which obviously means slowish shutter. It's around about half to a second with the two lights, one on the lens and the bigger light, which has been on the flash cam. Now what I've tried to do is position that so it's more underneath to give like a translucent feel. So when you've got lots of light, that's great for being able to pick out the details, but not so great being able to see almost like inside of the fungi, if you like. So I've tried to position the bigger light to an angle to one side, or close as I possibly can, to get it lit underneath without actually it being in shot. So I'll put a couple of those shots in now so you can see what I mean. I think I've done everything I can in this area underneath this tree here. So I'm going to head on a bit further down here in Chaddesley Wood, in this wonderful nature reserve here, to see what else we can pick up. Now I've had a bit more of a wander around this beautiful woodland here in Worcestershire. I did walk through the newer bit, the conifer plantation. Well, newish, obviously it's about 100 years old, but because it's newer, it's not really suitable for fungi. It takes a long time for fungi and the spores and everything to become established, and also they move by tracks, things like deer and badgers and foxes and that, and they don't tend to favour the cultivated areas of the woodland. They prefer traditional deciduous woodland like here, which is obviously really, really old. As I say, it was part of Feckenham. So I've walked through, I've done a circular walk, and I'm actually not that far from where I first started by that tree, and I'm a little bit further away from the footpath now. And I've just had a wander around here again, because this seems to be quite a fruitful spot for fungi. And there's something over there which has caught my eye, so I'm going to try and capture that. I'm not sure what it is. It's partially decayed on like a quadrant at 3 o'clock, if you see what I mean. So if you imagine it's a clock face, there's a little piece taken out of it, maybe nibbled by a deer or something. But I think that makes it quite photogenic, because it does look rather clock-like. Anyway, let's see if I can get a shot of it over there and see how it turns out. Well, I've just been capturing some other autumnal shots of the colour here, selected leaves, that sort of thing. I particularly like when they had some green moss with the golden leaves in the front of the back of it. Particularly like that, and I used the light for that as well with a longer shutter speed. I hope you've enjoyed this photography series looking at bits of fungi, and hopefully I'll be able to put some captions up. I was hoping to find some what they call the fly agaric. That's the ones that everybody's after, the red ones with the white dots on, but alas, I couldn't find any of those. But this is a really, really wonderful woodland. There's miles of it, too much. I just wanted to concentrate on a small area today. This isn't like one of my longer walks here. We were at another Worcestershire Wildlife Trust the other day when we had the paper mill there, just on the Geopark Way. That was great. This was equally as good. Very, very different, of course, very different reserve. But if you like woodlands, and I love them, this is a great place to come. Don't forget to share your images of the autumnal colours on my Facebook group. Love to see those, as I say, anywhere in the West Country. Hope you've enjoyed it today. Until next time on West Country Wanderings, take care of yourselves, look after yourselves, and I hope to see you on the channel again very, very soon. All the best for now. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.